Hello and welcome to The Wise Why. I am joined by an amazing man and I am so excited because it's about a story. I'm going to put it in there. David Camburn is from Swanwood Productions, and anyone who knows me knows that I love a story. And David and I met through Open Doors Networking and a lovely lady called Karen Underwood. So Karen, this is because of you. So as usual with The Wise Why, this is not about me. This is about David. So over to David, introduce yourself and tell people why a story matters.
Oh, Kirsty, well, thank you very much for having me on this morning. And again, to echo to you, thank you to Karen and Open Doors for introducing us. That's part of the story. There we go. Well, Swanwood Productions, it's a great time to talk to you because, believe it or not, the end of next week, we are 10 years old. Which we didn't realise until my wife said to me, "Do you know it's 10 years?" I was like, "Goodness, has it been that long?" And it's been great fun. And as you say, a lot of what we do is based around storytelling. And it has to be because we believe that everybody has a story to tell. And that's very important in terms of business today. I'll give you a little bit of the background. So I started many years ago in broadcast journalism, in news and current affairs with the BBC. And it was absolutely tremendous. I learnt my craft there. Wonderful. Again, learned storytelling in terms of news broadcasting and had a really, really wonderful time. But I kind of moved on from that because I had a yearning to do something else. And I went and freelanced at CNN and Sky News and to really encapsulate the story very, very quickly, realized that my wife and I, and a group of other people that we knew, freelancers, we wanted to make our own films and do our own things. Some of our friends went and made films themselves and in other ways, but we saw that there was a real opportunity in terms of business and business storytelling. And we were lucky enough to meet some fantastic people. And that's really how Swanwood was born. And I'll tell you a little anecdote that really came out of it. People always ask us, why Swanwood? That's a strange name for a film company. You know, you're not X Films or X Camera Films or Action Films or whatever. And Swanwood was really just named after the cottage that we lived in at the time. And it was a little bit of our own sort of vanity because we realized that Swanwood also riffed very nicely with Hollywood and Pinewood. So that's how it all kind of came about. So yeah, 10 years old next week.
And I love that. And there you go, straight in with a story. And people forget how important a story is in our journey. One of the things people say to me is, I've got nothing to talk about. I don't have a story. And I keep saying, well, your life experience is your story. I know that storytelling, I'm going to keep saying that word. I'm going to try not to repeat it too much, but storytelling is really key to building that know, like, and trust. And why should a business tell a story on video?
Because it's all very much about authenticity. Video is a great way to get your message across. We live in a digital marketing world where so many different elements are competing for people to get their stories across. Video is great. I mean, I always say to people there are three good reasons to use it. One, have it on your website because it means people will stay on your website longer. They will look at more of your content. So therefore, they will learn more about you, which is great. And as we know, people buy from people. And so videos build trust. People can actually see you. It's great. You can have a phone call, but if people can actually see you and interacting with people, that's brilliant. And one of the key ways we do that for people is client testimonials. Absolutely important because someone else is recommending you. It's the truth. It's authenticity. And the third reason that as we're doing here, video is fast and convenient to use. So it's absolutely terrific. But as you say, the basis of it has to be the storytelling. Now, it would be easy for me to come on here and go, hello, I'm Swanwood Productions. We can do this for you. We can do that for you. But there's no backstory. I want to know if I'm dealing with people in business, if I'm doing business with people, what's their story? Why would I use you? And as you say, some people say, well, I haven't got a story. But if I need a solicitor, say, I'd love to know more about that person, or an estate agent. If I'm buying a house, what motivates them? Why? How did they get into that business? And we met some tremendous people who have great backstories, and I'm much more likely to do business with that person than somebody who's just very bland and comes along and says, I will sell your house. It's like, no, I want to know more about you. What's your family? Where do you live? What do you do? Why did you get into this business? Very important.
It's that emotional connection, isn't it? It's about the, where do we, when you go meet someone for the first time, like I met you, we were sitting around the table, we had to do that 1 minute, and I don't like the word elevated pitch, I'm going to be honest, but that 1 minute, who am I? And it came around to, you know, I knew I'd come to meet you, and very quickly we communicated, and we were straight in, and let's be honest, we went straight to the chase, story, we're there. But that connection, that emotional connection, people buy, as you said, people buy from people, and 80% of the purchase these days is done before anybody even talks to you. So that emotional connection can be used, as far as I'm concerned, obviously, on video. So people out there are currently using vlogging kits and doing little short videos for social media. Where's the sweet spot that they step up and they come to a videographer? Why would they come to you?
It's all about the thing I say to people. I mean, vlogging and everything is fantastic. It's absolutely brilliant. And you're getting your message out there. You're on LinkedIn, you're on your Facebook, whatever. Terrific. So straight away, you're using video. A lot of people do it without realizing it. So they're on their mobile phones and they're using video. And then they see the power of it because they'll be on LinkedIn. They get some likes, they get some comments. Terrific. They may get some connections. They may get some business. But at some point, they're going to grow. And I always say to people, your phone's fantastic, but remember, you've worked really, really hard to build this business. Really, really hard. And presentation is everything. So when you go to the next level, you really want your presentation to reflect that. And sure, you can do it yourself. There's lots of apps, there's lots of equipment. But as you grow, you're going to find you need the time and the space to do other things. So as I would, if I was running a company that needed company cars, sure, I could go and source them all myself all the time, but that would take up so much time. So I would need then, as I grow, to call on someone else, an expert in that field, to get source those cars for me, for my company. So it'd be the same with the video, because as we've just reflected on, your story is going to grow as well. As you grow with your business and you employ people or whatever, your clients, that's going to grow. Get a more professional company in to tell that story. They should, fingers crossed, know what they're doing, and they will tell your story. I mean, we've spoken about this. It's the key messages are so important, and through those conversations as we've had, you understand. And it would be so easy for me to go in and make a lovely flash video. This is your company. This is lovely. But what is your story? Why are you talking to customers? Who do you want to talk to? Which customers do you want? And as I've said, get some of those customers in. Tell the story via some client testimonials. That's going to be great. And that all takes time, effort, editing, filming, post-production. And we can do that. That's
exactly what I wanted to get to. So when you shoot a video on your mobile phone, it's great. It's quick. You do 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, however long you want your video to be. You can do it. You can edit it. But you're never going to get, and this is where videography really comes into play, you're not going to get that multi-shot. You're not going to get that reverse shot. Now, as an actor, and this is something I talk about quite a lot, is you've got a 2-shot, you've got a medium close-up, you've got a close-up, you've got an extreme close-up, you've got the 2-shot, you've got the wide angle shot. You cannot do those on your own. Can you explain? Obviously, I know what I'm talking about, but people who are listening right now probably don't know what I mean. Nearly swore there. Don't know what I mean by a 2-shot. So can you explain the value that you bring as a videographer for creating that in-depth story rather than a flat 1 minute video?
Well, it's all about concentration. And these days we have pretty small concentration spans. So it's very easy for me now to talk to camera for 10 minutes and I can rattle off and talk away. But it's great because I'm interacting with you. So there we've got a 2-shot already. There's the 2 of us, which is brilliant. And that's keeping concentration. So we're getting your message across. Because if I just talk like that for 10 minutes straight, after a couple of minutes, people are going to turn off. The brain is not programmed to do that. It will go and look at something else. It will think, what am I having for dinner? When am I taking the dog for a walk? If I'm moving the pictures all the time and I'm giving the viewer different shots. So for instance, one of the things we do at Swanwood is we always, it's an old technique, we always do the interviews with a client first. Because you know that during those interviews, they will let something slip. They will say something that they haven't done beforehand. So you've done all the preparation, but something will, oh yes, I did excellent. And then immediately you think, goodness, we've got to get some shots of that. We've got to illustrate that because that's the story. So for instance, I always think when we're children, so we storybooks. Storybooks are fantastic. We have the story, but don't forget they're always on every page, really big illustrations. And the illustrations change over every page. So, and the story, the actual words are very small, couple of sentences at the bottom, and we turn the page and we turn the page. And the story is driving us on with a different illustration. And the video in your film should do the same. Because if the guy's talking about, oh, I work with so-and-so and that worked really well, you want to see those two people together interacting. Or if it's a manufacturing company, you want to see what they're manufacturing. And I could say, yeah, we manufacture tin cans. And yeah, great. But I need to see that. I want to see those tin cans on the line. I want to see movement. Stills photography is lovely. I love stills photography. But video is different. It's taking you on a journey. And particularly with business. Business stories have to be a journey. Take your client, take prospective clients. That's the other thing, on a journey, and show them what you can do for them.
That's brilliant. I think you just summed up everything that I was hoping you would cover off. So what's the optimum length of a video on your website?
Good question. You will get all sorts of information, and it changes all the time. Think people like HubSpot, Hootsuite, all these people will tell you all these different figures. Generation whatever doesn't watch anything for more than 30 seconds. And then recently I read another blog post, another article where someone quite well informed said, actually long form is coming back. It's very, very hard. What I would say, we had a client recently who wanted a 5-minute video on their website. And the reason they did that, because they were looking at what they thought was value for money. They thought length, the more they had on there, they were getting value for money from the video company. Us as it were. And I said, no, really, no more than 2.5 minutes. And they were, really? Well, I said, yes, because let me explain. Again, the concentration threshold, very small. But what we're filming with you, we're not just filming the web video, because what we can do, all of the interviews we do, get into your thought process, and we do this with a lot with clients now, is that it's not just that one video. We can cut that all down for you. So each one of your answers can make a separate clip for your social media. And therefore, you're getting so much more traction. Don't just think websites. Websites, brilliant. They're there. They give us authenticity. They tell people who we are. But you need to do it. And we did it for a finance company. As well as filming that, we gave them 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 short 20, 30-second clips, so that they have one to run every month of just someone explaining who they are, what they do. Bang, there we go. It's more about that package now. But yeah, timings change all the time, and now we have TikTok, which I have to admit is an area we've done very little on, but that's changing things as well. Instagram, TikTok, on it goes.
It's interesting you touched on that, because I went on TikTok and then I came off TikTok and then went back on TikTok and I've come off TikTok again. I use Instagram a lot for Reels because I find that it works really well. But for me, TikTok went a bit, I felt that I needed to be more fun, which if anyone who knows me knows I am quite fun, but because I want to represent the brand as well, I haven't quite found my right message for TikTok. It's not I don't want to do it. It's just I haven't found it yet. I will do, and then I'll come back on. But at the moment, I'm not there yet. But it's just interesting. So you touched very briefly, and we kind of sketched over it, that you work with your wife.
Yes. A lot of people have that reaction. Yes. Excuse me. Well, I met my wife at the BBC. So it's almost 25 years ago now. And so it was a natural progression. We both knew what we were doing. And I always say to people, it works really, really well, because here I am, little middle-class white boy from the home counties. I have a certain background. My wife is Greek Cypriot. Totally different. very emotional, works passion, works from the heart. Whereas I was going to say rational. No, that's wrong. That's the wrong word. But I'm kind of a calmer. So when those two meet, it actually works really, really well, because whereas I would tend to analyze absolutely everything, my wife is far more passionate and will go from the heart and will have a gut feeling about something. And over the years, I've learned to really trust that. She's been absolutely fantastic. She will go, do you know what, this client will work really well. And as we've discussed before, one of the great joys of running your own company is that, in a way, you can pick and choose who you work with, which is lovely. And you end up with some fantastic clients, and you know that sometimes there are people that are not going to be a good fit with you. And as we've spoken about, collaboration is really part of what we're about. So if we're not going to work with you, but through the networking and everything, we know people like yourself and other filmmakers who we think, I had this yesterday in a meeting. Someone said, oh, I'm making these series of films. And I was thinking, well, do you know what? I don't think we're going to be the right fit on that, because it's a different area. All sorts of things to take into account. But I do know someone else who I think will be really, really good for you. They wanted more of a kind of smaller unit, almost one-man band type of operation for a day shoot. I said, yeah, go, please. And they said, well, yeah, but would you be all right recommending? I said, of course. I'm not. Let's not be precious about this. Just because I don't shoot some video with you, it's not going to stop it going out in the great world of digital marketing. You know, let's not be precious. Let's share. And I had the same thing with a photographer asking, oh, I'd like to do some videos, but I can't really afford X. I said, it's not about that. I said, let's have a conversation. Let's talk to each other. If I can help you, because we're all about building relationships.
I think that's really important, because one of the things we were talking before we came on air was I had somebody who came to me and said they wanted some social media support. And I went, well, what I do is I will get you camera confident, and I'll make sure that your socials are all backed up, and in the middle, if we wanting to go to a videographer, then I will tap up my network and I will network. I'm going to put it back out there, back to Open Doors, back to Abingdon Buzz, even back to going out there and meeting people, because collaboration is really key. And what happened in this situation, I could sit there and go, you know what, I can do it, but I think this person would be better for you. And it's about sharing, because as business owners, we can become islands and it can be lonely. Whereas if you work in collaboration with people, it's like being back in the office and having a team, or at least I find it that way.
Absolutely. And you know, the last few years have been key to that. I mean, look what we've been through. I mean, it's, you know, the whole COVID situation changed everything. I mean, the whole home working debate, and I mean, we built a studio because we had to, so we could do more streaming work. But we wouldn't have done that without collaboration with others, with technical crew, with camera guys that we knew. We had to do that. And now we're moving into, you know, everybody's kind of paranoid about the economy and things. We have to share, we have to collaborate. Otherwise, you would just go under. And also, it's great for the soul. You know, without wishing to get too airy-fairy, but it is great for the soul to share, because if you don't, you say we just become islands, and then we go, why are we doing this? Why?
That brings me on to a really good question. You left the BBC, you set up a business with your wife. Along the way, you must have had moments where you went, I really love doing this, or I'm feeling overwhelmed. I've got to build a studio, I've got to get cameras, and I've got to get broadcast cameras, and I've got to set up a streaming system, and so there must have been moments where you questioned what you were doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When we first started out, because we went from the safety and security of the BBC and some other broadcasters I work for, and you leave everything because you go from salaried work and pensions, and you suddenly step out and you leave all that. No. First, there's this, as you know, building a company, there's this huge adrenaline rush, and you're like, fantastic, this is so exciting, we make films. And then it stops, because all of a sudden one day there's no clients at the door. And you go, hang on, we've got bills to pay, and how is this going to work? And you grow up really, really quickly. I mean, we were lucky. We as we said, we had a brilliant support network of people around us. We got recommended to a new accountant. which changed us totally. I mean, she was brilliant because she was very focused on media companies. But again, we met her through our network. And then we went, right, here we go, serious business plans. What are we going to do? What are we going to focus on? You do that ridiculous thing at the start where you try and attract anyone and everyone. And you almost kill yourself. You exhaust yourself. And sure, your relationship does have some bumps because you're both tired, you're both irritable, you're not sure where the next client's coming from. Do you have the money to invest in some new kit or some new ideas, in some social media? Maybe you don't that week. And yeah, you learn very, very quickly. And that's tough. But I don't regret it. I don't regret it. And one of the wonderful things is about meeting people like yourself and all the other people in our business networks. Everyone's been the same. Everyone's been through the same journey. And as I say, touch wood, 10 years, you know, yeah, I wouldn't change it for the world now. And I wish I'd done it 5 years, 10 years earlier.
I love that, and I'm with you. I said only this week, I wish I'd done this 10 years ago, but 10 years ago I wouldn't have been ready for it. But it's interesting what you said about because I find that I'm either really focused or I'm all over the place, which is kind of interesting. But when I'm really focused, my beautiful, beautiful, supportive, amazing husband will come in and go, "Do you want a cup of tea?" And I don't even answer him. I just because I've got my head on a task. And we had a conversation. It wasn't an argument because we don't really argue, but it was a conversation where he said, "You don't even answer me." And I remember saying, "I'm so sorry. It's not, I mean to be rude, but I'm on a task. And as a solo entrepreneur, if that's what you want to call me, I'm on my own at the moment. I've not quite hit that sweet spot where I can bring in a VA or a social media manager. So I'm doing it all." And there's a point where I go, I can't. And I just said to him, "I'm so sorry. I promise in 3 years' time, you'll have me back." So on that one, you've talked about the ups and the downs and the pitfalls. Who inspired you? Who actually made you go, yes?
Oh goodness, that's a really good question. Well, do you know, the funny thing, a very, very early memory I have was growing up. My parents were great. They were very into books and films and everything. And I remember as a young child, it was the film Lawrence of Arabia and David Lean. And my father was watching it. I went in and watched some of it. And it completely blew me away because I'd never seen anything like it before. It was these huge landscapes and this huge color. And it was no CGI then. Everything was incredible. These brilliant colors and deserts and things. And it something just clicked. And I thought I started, as I was growing up, going, how did he do that? How did I knew nothing about filmmaking, but as I grew up, I was like, I'm going to learn this because this is amazing. Someone's transported, and again, it was stories. Here we go again, storytelling. It was an amazing story, but the color and the images around it. So that was the thing that really triggered it for me. And then I went on, and the other person that really inspired me was the war photographer Don McCullum, because again, it was another moment where I don't know where I saw his first images, but it was just completely different to anything I'd seen before. Here were these pictures of the Vietnam War, and you were like, they were so visceral. They were, you could feel the story. There was a story there without having to go in too deep. And it just had this huge, as you say, huge emotional effects. And I saw these images, and again, I thought, I guess that's why I got into news. Because I thought, well, I always had an inquiring mind and I wanted to know about things. Nosy, I suppose. But yeah, that's where it really goes. Those are the two kind of artistic, if you like, elements that really hit me.
That's really interesting because you just made me think about something which I haven't thought about for a while. Philip Glass's work.
Yep.
I don't. It just came flooding through my brain. It was like my brain went off firing, and because I do active listening on this, and it went firing off in a place. It was like, where am I going? Where am I going with this? Philip Glass. So I wrote about Philip Glass's. Now I'm not even going to try and say it. I'll let someone else try and say it. I might put it in the chat later, but I'm not going to try and say it. But I wrote about his work because his imagery is Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And it's just set to music. And I still, to this day, the imagery and that music will always haunt me. There was that moment where the atom bomb goes off and cut to, and that is what videography is to me. It's that beautiful symbiosis between image, sound, and not in this case, but also the vocal word. It's just, oh, sorry. I went down a rabbit hole there.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's something I always tell people not to do.
No, you're right, and it's that emotion. You can it tells you can watch a sad film, you can watch a happy film, but it's all about human experiences. And people say to me, "Oh, yeah, what sort of?" My wife likes sci-fi films, and I can't. I just don't get science fiction. Apologies to everyone who loves science.
I'm with your wife.
Yeah, yeah. It's weird. I just love films about relationships and things and events. I always what drives people? Why do we do historical figures? Why did they make that decision? Why did they do that? I just find all that fascinating.
It's brilliant. We've had some lovely comments. I'm just going to quickly flick to them. So Rabin has joined us, and we've had a lovely person join us now. So unfortunately, sometimes with LinkedIn, I don't get to see the name, which really upsets me. But someone has put, and I will find out later, using experts for a professional result as soon as you can is great advice, and it is great advice. An outsider can reflect on you, see your story in another way, and add value. So really good comment there. And Yvonne's come in and saying using an expert is so important. Also, sometimes we know our message inside and out, but we struggle, and this is so true. We struggle to get our message across. We get caught up in our own heads. People like David and video can help us simplify our message and make it fun and easy for others to understand. And I think that sums up how important it is sometimes to get an outside person to look at what you're doing. I can't wait for that sweet spot where I can come to you and say, can you shoot me a load of video that I don't have to actually shoot on my mobile phone?
Oh no, well, no, thank you. I love that word. No, and I agree. And I'll tell you a little story as well. I mean, one of the things we don't do enough of is our own promotional videos. But what I've done in the past, and we'll be doing some hopefully this later this year, I will have someone directing me, because exactly what that person kindly said, they draw out your story, and this has been lovely and this has been wonderful. But it's great because we can talk away and chat. But if I need to get a concentrated message, I will make sure I've got a director directing me, because they will pick out key things. So yeah, I will need an expert to do the expert. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's so important. Now, this is the moment where you get to throw it around and you get to ask me a question. Now, I have no idea what the question is going to be. And this is where I either go, oh, I can answer that, or oh, I'm going to run for the hills. So off you go, because I only think it's fair after.
Oh, that's really kind. Well, Kirsty, look, I mean, it's great. You are building this fantastic business yourself. So we've talked about the difficulties and things. How have you found? I mean, I've known you for a while now. How have you found your journey over, let's say, the last 12 months?
It's been really interesting, and I'm not going to say it's not. I had to go off and learn a lot, and I do mean I had to learn a lot. So being that I set up from the kitchen table with less than £2,000, and this is what people don't realise, I came up with a business idea, and I sat down, and my husband helped set everything up on Company's House, and then he went off and got this really powerful job, and then I was left going, I don't even know how to build a website. Yeah. So I've learned how to build my website. I've gone off and taught myself SEOs, and I genuinely mean SEOs. And if you type in, I'm really proud of this, public speaking on camera, or speak with confidence on camera, or camera confidence, or something like that, you will find my company. I've had to learn all about the equipment, because I know how to be on camera, but I didn't know the tech necessarily. So I went off and tested and tried, and then built a whole, I taught myself YouTube, and I've got a whole YouTube channel. It's got 56 followers now. I'm really excited. It's got over 41 hints and tips, and the Wise Why. So I went off and trained with the Tech Pixies and learned and understood the importance and the power of social media. I went and joined Oxlab to understand business acumen. So I joined networking, and that's really key. And I met people like you. I met Karen at a networking event, and from meeting Karen, I met Sharon and Anthony, who's coming on later in the year, and Kathy, who's coming on later in the year. So I've been incredibly lucky, but I had to learn to jump into the rabbit hole. I had to learn to trust people that I've never met before and listen to them and see. And I had to really understand the power of collaboration. Collaboration is key. So one of the things I know Kathy talks about is, and I can't say her surname. The downside to me is I'm dyslexic. So if I can't see the name, I'm not going to say it. So if you can give Kathy's surname, that would help.
Unveiling, yes.
Thank you. So Kathy talks about going to networking events and looking for how you can help.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go out there and think that you're going to networking to promote. And I never did that. So I remember the first time I met you, I got you all on your feet and taught you a breathing exercise.
Yeah.
That's what I did. But I didn't go in there thinking I'm going to come in here and I'm looking to for business. I came into the room looking to meet you and to meet other people. And I think that's really important, was learning to have a hive of people, and I'm going to call it the hive of people. So I've got Oxford, I've got the Tech Pixies, I've got you guys, and you have all helped me. And when I've got stuck, one of you has just come along and gone, how about you do this? Or how about you do that? And it's helped deal with the overwhelm. So I'm going to say, reach out, go out, and don't be afraid to learn. That is what I got over the last year. And it's been hard. It's been really challenging, but it's been made easier because I met people like you.
Oh, thank you. Well, there we go. There's a story. That's a beautiful story. It's terrific. That's great.
So there you go. Thank you so much for spending half an hour with us. I know that there'll be some comments, and I always say this at the end of it, you have to go into the post on my page to reply to the comments. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute beautiful half an hour.
Thank you very much, Kirsty. Thank you.